Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I am Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Russia calls the suspension of US aid to Ukraine the best contribution to ending the Russia-Ukraine war. This after US President Donald Trump paused all military aid to Kiev, days after a heated Oval Office meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen unveils a five-part plan to mobilize over $840 billion for Europe's defense and to help provide urgent military support for Ukraine after Washington's aid freeze. The Philippines fighter jet and its two-man crew go missing after flying in support of ground forces fighting communist rebels in the southern Mindanao region. Hundreds evacuated as torrential rains pound the Indonesian capital of Jakarta and its surrounding areas, causing several rivers to overflow. And Libya launches first public bidding round for oil and gas exploration in 17 years. With this, Libya aims to enhance its position among the world's oil countries and achieve the goal of reaching oil production of 2 million barrels per day. Hello and welcome. We begin with updates from West Africa, where in Nigeria, Islamic police have arrested Muslims who were seen eating and drinking publicly during Ramzan, when Muslims are supposed to fast from dawn till dusk. These arrests in Nigeria's Kano state also included those selling food at the start of Ramzan. Around 20 people were arrested for not fasting and 5 for selling food. All 25 have been charged in a Sharia court and await punishment. The Islamic police in Nigeria's Kano state said the operations would continue throughout the month and that any disrespect for Ramzan would not be condoned. One of the police officials also said they sometimes get tip-offs when people are seen eating during the Muslim holy fasting month. Not just this, the Islamic police also arrested 2 more people who were seen with inappropriate haircuts, wearing shorts above the knees, and tricycle drivers mixing male and female passengers. Nigeria's Kano state launched a similar crackdown last year too, but those arrested were freed after promising to fast. This year, those arrested were made to face the court. Though Nigeria's constitution protects freedom of religion, just over 20 years ago, Sharia, or Islamic law, was introduced to work alongside secular law in 12 of Nigeria's northern states that have a majority Muslim population. The Islamic law does not apply to the Christian minorities living in the state. Not just Kano, there were tensions in 3 other northern Nigerian states over Ramzan. Authorities in Kano, Katsina, Bauchi and Kebbi states, which are predominantly Muslim, ordered the closure of schools for the holy month of Ramzan. Now, this order drew the threat of nationwide protests from an education union. It was also criticized by Christian groups in these states, who threatened legal action against the 4-state government. Now, critics say it disrupts the academic calendar and undermines the academic progress of students. Nigeria is roughly evenly split between Christians and Muslims, with a Muslim majority north and a Christian majority south. And throughout its history, Africa's most populous nation has also witnessed outbursts of tension and violence across religious lines. The governments in the four states that have issued the order have been known to play up their religion to score political points among voters. So a Ramzan crackdown in parts of Nigeria is not just stoking fresh tensions, it also raises questions about freedom of choice and religion, and the use of religion for vote bank politics. Now, for more on this, we have with us Dr. Ambrose Igboke, a political analyst who is joining us live from Enugu in Nigeria. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, Alyson. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Good afternoon. Now, the arrest of Muslims for eating in public during Ramzan by the Islamic police has sparked significant debate. How do these actions align with Nigeria's constitutional protections for individual freedoms and, of course, religious practices? And what legal grounds are being used to justify these arrests and these subsequent charges by Sharia courts?
Well, Nigeria is a secular state, that is first and foremost. So it's not a religious state. It's a secular state. So we live by the constitution, by a secular constitution, not very. But again, the Nigerian constitution recognizes the place of Sharia law for the northern Nigeria. And the Sharia law is ought to be applicable only to those who are practicing Islam. It does not affect Christians living in the north, even though some degree of Sharia law is practiced in the north, but it's not applicable to people who are Christians. Now, when you agree to be a Muslim, one of the four pillars of Islam is the issue of fasting. It's a pillar in Islam, and they call the holy month of Ramadan. But it is very clear that the way the politicians in the north use weaponized religion is not how the religion itself is, because Islam is always promoted as a religion of peace. So, and religion is supposed to correct the adherents. Religion is supposed to guide the adherents into the path of righteousness, into the path of love. And so if that is it, then one wonders why there is corporal punishment outside. So it is supposed to correct. What does it do? Last year, we had issues of where such laws are being enforced in Christian areas where you call the Sabongeri in Kano, where Sabongeri is a place brought out for for practices of something that is not strictly Islam, that is for visitors. That we saw the Hizbah police practicing that in Sabongeri last year, and that should not repeat itself this year, because it is supposed to be an enclave for people who are non-practicing Muslims. And so, so that doesn't bring religious tension. Yeah. We have to be careful how these things are implemented. And but for those who signed up to fast, who are supposed to be Muslims, they're supposed to adhere to the rules of their religion.
Right. And the decision by some northern states to close schools throughout Ramzan has been criticized by the Christian Association of Nigeria as counterproductive for the students. Now, what are the potential social and educational impacts of these closures? And how does this reflect the broader religious and political dynamics then in northern Nigeria?
Firstly, I must say that the Nigerian Constitution always had Sharia as a component, as an integral component of the Constitution. But sometime in 2001, culminating to 2002, some northern governors came up with a different shades of Sharia, trying to implement full Sharia. And they said it cannot work because this is Nigeria. They were using it to score political points, not actually for religious purposes. We thought we have passed that time, and then we come now, and then we're having this kind of issues. Saudi Arabia, which is where Islam originated, even the Middle East, we have Iran, Iraq, UAE, all these countries, Egypt, Libya, all these countries that are really, what we call Muslim countries, have not asked their children to go home because of fasting. They all go to school during the time of Ramadan. How can Nigeria, that is practicing secular state, or anybody who cares about even the adherence of their religion, ask children to go home? Mind you, these children are not even up to the fasting age. Most of them are not up to fasting age. So what is the connection between school children, school pupils, and the fasting? They have no connection because they're not even up to the age of fasting. That underscores the undercurrent of politics in it. That shows that these northern governors don't care about the welfare, educational welfare of their children. And that is also stems from the fact that we have some group of people who came up like 15 years ago and called themselves Boko Haram, saying that education is a taboo. Right. And these governors are trying to give a verve to that kind of belief system. Because in Saudi Arabia, people go to school when they are fasting. We are asking the children not to go to school in Nigeria for 5 weeks. And you closed all schools. Mind you, the Sharia says that it's only applicable to the Muslims. But you closed all schools, affecting Christians, affecting traditional worshippers, affecting pupils from other religions without care. So it has infringed on the fundamental rights of the citizens of Nigeria. And it ought not to be so. I think the federal government should rise up and caution the governors. And I think also Christian groups have made comment they should go to court and make sure that we have expedited action. Because the what we call the University Tertiary Matriculation Examination is coming up. That is the UTME. The West Africa Examination Council result exam is coming up. And then the National Educational Council result is also, exam is coming up for the senior secondary school students. What we now have is that we are depriving these children of a critical moment where they are preparing for these external exams. It should not be allowed to stand. I think those four governors should be called to order.
Right. Doctor, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights and all your views there.
Thank you, Alyson. It's always a pleasure.
Shifting focus to the Democratic Republic of Congo, in some shocking updates coming in from the conflict-hit nation, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have abducted at least 130 patients from hospitals in the captured city of Goma in eastern DRC. As per the United Nations, the M23 took the patients from 2 hospitals in Goma and are holding them at undisclosed locations. 5 civilians were also reportedly among those seized, but were later released. The UN calls the M23 snatching patients from hospital beds deeply distressing. The M23 claims the abducted patients were members of the DRC's army or the pro-government militia Wazalendo. Now, Wazalendo is also known as the Force of Patriotic Awakening for the Liberation of Congo. These are the local self-defense forces that are fighting to protect their communities from M23 attacks. They are young fighters who allied themselves with the DRC military. Their abduction comes just days after the M23 said they had captured fighters linked to the FDLR, an anti-Rwandan group active in eastern DRC. M23 released a video showing them handing over 20 FDLR fighters to Rwanda. However, the DRC calls the video fake and denies any support to the group. Instead, the DRC accuses Rwanda of using the M23 rebels to loot its minerals. Since taking up arms again in 2021, the M23 has seized swathes of the mineral-rich eastern DRC. In the latest fighting that began last year, now they have seized the North Kivu provincial capital of Goma and South Kivu's capital of Bukavu. The armed group has now positioned itself to govern in parts of the eastern DRC, which has been plagued by conflict for more than 3 decades. Rwanda has neither accepted nor denied its support and troops' presence in the DRC. However, as per a UN report, Kigali maintains at least 4,000 troops in eastern DRC. The report also said Kigali was using the M23 to profit from the eastern DRC's natural resources, as these minerals are smuggled into Rwanda and then they enter the global supply chains. In the recent clashes, over 8,000 people have lost their lives in eastern DRC, while the humanitarian situation has worsened as parties refuse dialogue. Prospects of peace remain elusive. Now, we have been telling you about Putin's growing footprint in Africa. Let's take a look at yet another such chapter. Zimbabwe is turning to Russia for nuclear power. A new deal puts Putin at the center of Zimbabwe's energy ambitions. Zimbabwean officials say their country will work with the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the IAEA, to develop a nuclear program, and Russia will likely invest in this program. Zimbabwe is joining other African countries looking for solutions to chronic electricity shortages. Power demand has been growing across the continent, and Zimbabwe's partnership could shape its energy future. Zimbabwe has set the target to increase its power generation to at least 4 gigawatts by the year 2035. To achieve this, it will collaborate with Russia to build small nuclear reactors, and the IAEA has agreed to help Zimbabwe through this process. However, current data shows that Zimbabwe's daily power generation is about half of the capacity. Russia is expected to step in here. A 2021 agreement with Russia's state-owned nuclear company, Rosatom, is expected to lay the groundwork for this. Now, experts say this could provide millions of people in rural and remote areas with access to reliable power. Right now, South Africa is the only African country with a nuclear power plant, but more are in the works. Unlike solar and wind, which require large swathes of land, nuclear energy can generate electricity from small fuel sources. This makes it a strong option for countries with limited space. The World Bank categorizes Zimbabwe as a lower middle-income country. It has strong potential for economic growth because of its educated workforce, along with its natural resources. The current government is aiming for an upper middle income status by the year 2030, and nuclear power could help it achieve this goal. By helping Zimbabwe grow nuclear power, Russia is strengthening its strategic foothold on the continent. It has similar deals with Egypt, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and South Africa. So Putin is expanding his reach through energy partnerships. He is positioning himself as an important energy provider. By backing nuclear projects, it ensures African nations rely on Russia's expertise, technology, and funding. And for our final story today, we turn to Morocco. The North African nation is under the spotlight after Spanish authorities unearthed a mysterious underground tunnel, one they believe stretches all the way to Morocco and is being used to smuggle massive amounts of drugs into Europe. This discovery comes as part of Spain's long-running crackdown on the illegal drug trade. While investigators have pinpointed the tunnel's entry point on Spanish soil, the question remains, where exactly does it emerge in Morocco? To solve the mystery, Spain has asked Morocco for help, a request it is yet to respond to. Our next report digs deeper into the Morocco-Spain secret drug tunnel.
This is Spanish police crawling through claustrophobic confines just 40 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters high. After navigating through the narrow passage, what the police uncovered was a discovery made after years of investigation and something long suspected: a secret underground tunnel connecting Morocco to Spain. The Spanish police are almost certain that the tunnel was used for smuggling drugs from Morocco to European territories, more specifically hashish or hash, of which Morocco is one of the world's largest exporters. The tunnel has been discovered in the Spanish territory of Ceuta off North Africa's coast. It was found in a former marble factory that shuttered its operations in 2020. The tunnel's entrance was concealed beneath a trap door leading to a descending stairway. It was fitted with basic lighting and measures 12 meters deep on the Spanish side. As per the police, the tunnel's design allows for the smuggling of drug bundles weighing up to 50 kilograms easily. No drugs were found at the site and no arrests have been made directly related to the tunnel's discovery. However, the discovery comes amidst a larger crackdown on drug trafficking in the region by the Spanish authorities. As authorities continue to track unusually large shipments of drugs entering Spain without a clear explanation of their origins. Under the operation, police have arrested 14 people over the past 3 weeks, including 2 policemen, including a Moroccan-Spanish parliamentarian, and have also seized 6,000 kilos of the drug. For years, Spanish customs had intercepted trucks loaded with massive drug shipments but could never identify their entry point. Until now, when it was discovered in Ceuta. Ceuta is a tiny Spanish enclave that sits on the northern shores of Morocco's Mediterranean coast. Together with another territory of Melilla, it forms the European Union's only land border with Africa. The city is also a magnet for thousands of traders and menial workers who cross the border from Morocco each day to earn a living. Due to its proximity to the Moroccan border, the city has been identified as a strategic point for drug smuggling. There is no clarity on the history of the tunnel and also its origins. Spanish authorities are now working to determine the full extent of the tunnel, and for that they need Morocco's help. The Spanish National Court judge has officially requested Morocco's assistance in the investigation of the secret tunnel, but the Moroccan side is yet to begin its investigation. Some media reports point that such a sophisticated structure would not have been constructed without support of Moroccan authorities. All of this comes as both Spain and Morocco have intensified their operations to thwart the smuggling networks. Border security has increased along with physical barriers going up. There are also more maritime patrols roaming the waters to prevent jet skis from being used as drug mules. Spain and Morocco have also been communicating more on joint raids and task forces. But the question is, will this tunnel discovery position Morocco as the underground headquarters of the illegal drug trade?
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.